It's Tracy Farquhar coming to you live once again, and it's Monday, July 26th. I'm going to be pulling some cards from my book Tarot for Today, once again for some guidance for the week ahead. So it's the last week of July. We're heading into August pretty soon, so let's make the most of what we have left of the summer here. I'll be pulling a few cards, as I said, from my book Tarot for Today for a general reading, and then I'll take just a few requests for a one-card reading. As long as you haven't had a reading from me recently, you can request that in a comment. Okay, so let's see what we get. This is my book Tarot for Today, which is a deck of tarot cards that I created in book form. So I'm just going to ask for some inspired guidance for the week ahead for all of us for general reading and turn to the pages that will most give us that guidance. Okay, so the first card here that I've turned to is the moon. The moon, and it's pretty significant because we are coming out of a full moon period. We just had a full moon the other night. And so the moon, when you think about the moon's energy, especially around the full moon, you may have been experiencing that, maybe still experiencing that, because, you know, as you know, that power isn't just felt on the day of the full moon. It's felt a few days before, a few days after. So that energy, just as it pulls up the tides, it also pulls up our emotions. So the energy of our emotions is very powerful, and the pull of the moon tends to shift that, and so it's why people tend to be a little more emotional during that time. So this is what it says for the moon tarot card. The moon represents your feeling self, your emotions, intuition, and higher senses. It's encouraging you to acknowledge these feelings rather than ignore them. Pay attention to your emotions and find a healthy way to express them. Trust your intuition to guide you when you're unsure. These senses are sacred and they deserve your attention. So, you know, we often think that our emotions are our enemy, especially when we are feeling things we don't want to be feeling. But really, our emotions are a gift and they're sacred and they have something to offer us. To me, the only time our emotions really become an issue are when we are ignoring them, trying to push them aside, trying to push them down. That energy, which as I said, is very big energy, can get stuck in your energy field, doesn't go far until it's expressed and dealt with and acknowledged. Then it can move, then it can shift, and then it can change. So when an emotion comes up, it's important to pay attention to it, to ask what it's about, to sit with it and see how it needs to be expressed. That could mean any number of things. It could mean a good cry. It could mean journaling. It could mean calling a friend and talking. It could mean calling your therapist, taking a walk in nature. Ask yourself, what do I need to move through these emotions? And, you know, again, acknowledging them, and stop telling yourself you shouldn't be feeling something or you shouldn't be experiencing some emotion. It's all part of the human experience. And if it's part of the human experience, there's something in it for us. So if you have found yourself feeling particularly emotional in any way, whether that's sadness, even, you know, the happy emotions, you know, they have something to offer us too, not just a happy feeling, but it's a signal that the direction you're going in is beneficial to you. Irritability, anger, frustration. Let's face those things and see what they're showing you. You know, what is out of alignment? It's showing that something is out of alignment. Is your experience out of alignment with your expectations? Well, then maybe you could shift your expectations a bit. Are you focusing too much on what's going wrong and not enough on what's going right? Well, maybe you could shift that focus a little bit. Is there action that you need to take in response to those emotions? Sometimes anger and frustration can motivate us to take action. If we're ignoring those emotions, we may be ignoring the action that's really going to be helpful to us. All right, I'm going to pull another card, turn to another page in the book. All right. So the second card is the World card. And this is a really powerful card. The image is from Grounds for Sculpture in New Jersey, beautiful sculpture garden. All of the images in this book are my own images, either that I've taken or that other people have taken from my life. And then I've manipulated them on Canva, added some things, and made them into tarot cards. So the World card indicates that it's time for you to realize that the world is at your feet. If you've been focused on one area of your life for too long, or have been limiting your experiences, this card urges you to break free of that and enjoy the fruits of your labors. The world is waiting for you to explore it. Allow yourself to be guided to the next adventure. All right, this is very appropriate for where we are right now. As things start to open up a little bit, of course, we still want to use the required caution so that we all stay healthy. But it's time to start coming out of our shells. Okay, we have been kind of forced into some solitude and some, you know, some sense of pulling our energy out of the world around us, which actually has offered us something as well. But the World card is saying now it's time to decide what you're going to do with whatever it is that came up during that time. A lot of people that I've been talking to have done a lot of introspection during that time and have decided to make changes in their lives. So if that's you, this World card is saying, okay, it's time to really start to take the steps toward those changes. Doesn't mean you have to dive in head first, but it does mean that it's time to consider them as reality and not just some fantasy that you came up with because you were alone. Consider that you're being urged to take some action, and that little urge to make change in your life is your intuitive voice. It is the voice of your higher self, your guides, your angels, source itself. That's how all of our helpers speak to us, through our intuition. So in conjunction with the first card, the Moon card, which is also encouraging you to tune into your intuition, this card is saying, tune in and now start to see what you want to do with that. And get excited about the possibilities for change. Change usually scares the heck out of us as humans, but it's also very exciting to start to explore the possibilities and the potential for your life and see that maybe the world is a little bit bigger than the world you've created for yourself. And also to know that, you know, that saying, the world is at your feet, means you get to make whatever choice you feel is in your highest good, and create new experiences for yourself from those choices. Okay, pulled one more card, and again, really significant and relevant to what we've already talked about. So Three of Swords. Three of Swords looks like that. That's a picture of my beautiful daughter, Gemma. And Swords tends to be the most challenging of the suits in the tarot because it's connected to how we think. So the Three of Swords relates to some emotional pain that needs attention. So once again, going back to that moon, if you're trying to avoid or dismiss some upsetting feelings, this card is a reminder that they need to be faced and worked through before you can move on. Allow yourself to feel what you need to feel so that you can focus on your healing. So clearly that's a strong message today, that in order for us to start to really move forward, you know, to take advantage of the world being at our feet, we first have to do the internal work. We have to acknowledge what's been going on with our emotional selves. Again, if something has come up in the past year for you, where you're feeling uncomfortable in a situation or you're feeling unhappy, and you hadn't noticed that before, this is a time to really face those feelings. Normally, in our everyday lives, we're so busy. Okay, we've created this culture of busyness that tends to make us feel successful and productive. Busyness isn't always aligned with success and productivity. You know, we can have moments of quiet, of stillness, of self-reflection that are also very conducive to success. So with the time that we've had to kind of slow down a little bit, some of us anyway, you know, some of these emotions may have stirred up to the surface, and you may have looked at your life differently. And I'm telling you, so many people that I've been speaking to in the readings that I've been doing have done that and have decided that it's time to make change. So again, the change has to start within. We have to acknowledge what we're feeling. We need to face where we're unhappy, where we're unsettled, where things seem to be out of balance, instead of saying, oh, well, it's not that bad, I'm just going to keep going. You know, you can still decide to do that, but it's going to keep coming up again and again and again until you face it. And, you know, what I feel is like sometimes we first start with a little tap on the shoulder, and that's just a feeling of unease. If we ignore that, as we usually do, we'll get a little shove. And something else will happen that kind of shakes us up a little more. And we can continue to ignore it, but eventually the universe is going to kind of pull the rug out from under you. Not in a way to torture you, but in a way to wake you up, to make you look at the other possibilities and potential for your life. So don't let it get to that point. You know, if you're feeling that little nudge, that little tap on the shoulder, that inner voice that's telling you there's something else out there, pay attention to it. Okay, that's the reading for the week ahead, general reading. Hi, everybody. I'm looking at the comments now. So, as I said, I will take just a few requests for one-card readings. And the first one I see here is for Lori Bishop. So I will pull a card, which means turning to a page in this book for you, and see what we get for Lori. Okay, Lori. The card I got for you is the King of Cups. And in my book, I have to scroll down. All right. So this is the King of Cups, which is kind of funny because the central figure in that picture is a good friend of mine whose birthday is tomorrow. So this is a kind of a playful picture. And the King of Cups represents a balance between the divine masculine and the divine feminine energies. So even though it's the King of Cups, which is clearly masculine energy, Cups is the sign of the heart. It is connected with water, with the emotions, with everything we were just talking about when we were talking about the moon and, you know, emotional response. So it's asking for a balance between the masculine thinking, logical mind, and the more feminine feeling heart. Of course, this has nothing to do with gender. It has to do with the way we kind of categorize those different types of experiences and feelings. It's encouraging you to engage your intellect and logic in conjunction with your emotions and intuition to make decisions and take action. This is where your expertise will shine, in the synthesis of deep thought and deep feeling. Use these gifts well. So the message is, you know, don't rely solely on the intellect and logic, which is what we normally do because that's what we've been taught to do. From the time you can learn anything, that has been drilled into you. Figure it out, use your mind, be logical, and there's nothing wrong with that, except that it negates the feeling self. We're actually taught that that's not reliable, that we shouldn't listen to our heart, that you know, our emotions, you know, will throw us off track. And again, it's possible that that could happen, but usually it's because we're not really taking full advantage of those emotions. We're not listening to the intuition. We're not really tuning into our feelings. In fact, we're pushing them aside because it doesn't make sense. Okay, so yes, we do need to be logical. We do need to be practical in order to proceed and function as humans. But that doesn't mean we need to negate the other side of our awareness, which is our feeling heart, and that more feminine sense, which again for millennia has been downgraded. I believe the big shift that's happening for us right now is the opportunity to start to honor that divine feminine energy more, to pay attention to it, to see it as valuable and sacred, and use it in conjunction with the thinking mind to make your decisions and choices and in fact, in the choices that we make as a collective in the way we run this planet. Okay. Okay. So again, I will just be taking a couple. I see, okay, I see Nancy Wasef. I will pull one for you, Nancy. Okay, Nancy, we got the Six of Cups for you. Again, it's a very heart-centered day today, apparently. It's a little crooked. There it is. So that picture is me, a younger me, with my children who were little back then, many years ago. The Six of Cups is about your past. And this can go as far back to your childhood. If you're experiencing some nostalgia or reminders of your past, you're being offered an opportunity to make peace with it and recognize the beliefs and energy that no longer serve you so that you can release them. Don't let the remnants of the past block future possibilities. So this card can be an indication that some things that are coming up for you right now, and again, because we've been talking about emotional energy coming up, some of that emotional energy may not actually be about what's happening now as much as it is about what has happened for you, like that kind of trigger effect. You're being reminded of something that hurt you or that caused you trauma or that challenged you in the past. And sometimes that causes us to overreact a little to the things that are happening now. Again, that doesn't mean you're being too emotional, doesn't mean you're feeling things too deeply and you should just get over it. It means pay attention to that and say, okay, this feels like it's connected to something other than what's in front of me right now. How can I make peace with that? How can I, look at the past and say, the only thing that is the remainder of the past is the way I'm thinking about it. The past doesn't exist anymore except in the way that I'm perceiving it and I'm thinking about it. And so if there's something in the past that keeps pulling me back and keeps me in kind of a repeating pattern of emotional response or a lower sense of self-esteem or self-confidence, I need to interrupt that and recognize that the past only has as much power over me as I allow it to. So, it's not just an overnight thing. This is something that, you want to do a little self-reflection about, maybe a lot of self-reflection. But you don't have to analyze every little thing that happened in the past. Sometimes people do, and that will require more professional therapy. But sometimes it's easier than that, easier than we think it will be. It's just a matter of saying, that's not me anymore. I'm not that person that thing happened to anymore. So let me see if I can take a perspective on it that releases my energy from it. Okay, so I don't want to be attached to this anymore. Okay, set the intention and see how you get guided into releasing that trigger so that it isn't interfering in your life. Alrighty. I will do a couple more. Liza McNally, hello. Let me pull one for you. Okay, once again we get cups. The Four of Cups. There it is. Yeah, you can see that. That's my son Oliver in that picture. All right, so the Four of Cups is encouraging you to be true to your authentic self and not to get too caught up in wishful thinking. Drop the shoulds and focus on the best way to express yourself in a heart-centered manner. Don't miss the opportunities showing up now just because you're waiting for something else that better meets the expectations of your ego or others. So this card reminds us that, sometimes we're so focused on what we think things should be like, or what we think we should be doing, or what other people think we should be doing or shouldn't be doing. that we kind of get this tunnel vision, and we miss the opportunities that are coming in because, we're saying, well, that's not what I have in mind. That's not in my shoulds. That's not one of my expectations. And so that can't be right. But this is saying, your authentic self, your higher self knows what's best for you. And so if you have an intention for something and you put that intention out there, and that intention is around what you want to experience and feel in your life, things are going to show up, but they may not necessarily be the things that you're expecting. So there's this sense of kind of broadening your view of what's possible. Instead of it has to be this one little thing, and if it's not that one thing, I'm not going to feel successful or happy. Broaden it to say, okay, there's a lot of different ways that I can get to the place where I feel the things I want to feel and experience the things I want to experience. So let me be open to what shows up, because if it's showing up and it's in response to an intention, and I need to pay attention to that. Don't get too caught up in what you wish things were. Again, there's a difference between wishing and intending. Wishing means I don't like what is, and I just, I wish things were different, and it means it's setting up this sense of resistance to what is. Intention means, yeah, I may not be too thrilled about what is, but I'm going to make the best of it with the intention for those good things, the things that I'm really focusing on, to expand and create the better scenario that I really want. So there's a big difference between those two things. Wishing tends to make you focus on what's wrong. Intending tends to make you focus on what's right and want more of it. Okay, so again, the cups aspect is the heart, the intuition, the feeling self, which is very instrumental in that. All righty, one more. Mary Kay Hill. All right, let's see what we get for you. All right, so I pulled the 5 of Swords for you. There it is. There's my daughter Gemma from the Renaissance Fair many years ago. 5 of Swords can reflect a sense of being a victim of other people and circumstances, and how this may be creating inner and outer conflict. It's a reminder that you're only as powerless as you believe you are, and others only have as much influence on you as you have allowed. Stand in your truth, speak your mind, and begin to regain your power to create something better. So the Suit of Swords tends to be the most challenging of the suits in the tarot because it is focused on how we think. And because our thinking mind is the place where we normally get ourselves into trouble or into places where we're not feeling good, this is a reminder that, we do have the ability to change that. So if you're feeling any sense of helplessness, victimhood, and weren't we all in this past year and a half? It's one of the things that I think that we've had the opportunity to work on over this time of the pandemic. It's true, absolutely true. We have no control over those circumstances that come into our lives from outside. We have no control over the people and in our lives and how they act and what they say and their personalities. There are so many things that we really can't control. But the main thing that we have power over is our response to those things. And that's where our power is. We get to choose what to do with what's coming at us. And when we recognize that power, we feel less victimized by those things that are coming at us. In fact, we can start to see some of them as opportunities to learn, to change, to grow. And yeah, even the really, really difficult things. And of course, not in the moment of trauma or in the moment of, the aftermath of that. We still have to work through the emotional stuff, as we've already talked about today. But eventually, hopefully, you'll get to the point where you can say, I need to move on. And in order to move on, I need to reclaim my power. And I need to say, I'm going to make choices around what I have learned from these situations, which is always going to be in your higher good. It's always going to be in a way that's going to elevate you if you decide to take that perspective on the challenges rather than feeling helpless and victimized. So let that be a little nudge for you, Mary Kay. In the week ahead, just notice where you might go into that thought pattern, as we all do sometimes. Even the most spiritual among us do that because it's human, and say, wait a minute, is that really where I want to be? Is that empowering me or disempowering me? If it's disempowering me, let me see what I can do with that. Just think about it differently. Okay. All right. Well, that's the week ahead. Thanks for tuning in once again. And again, my book is available on Amazon, Tower for Today. I have a few different fun workshops and stuff coming up. Check out my website, tracyparkward.com, to see what that's all about. There's some channeling stuff. There's a psychic development course, actually two, one coming up in October, which is going to be in person. So check it out, and I hope to see you again, work with you again, do a reading for you again. I also have a special that's only good for this week until the end of the week on the combination reading, so you might want to check that out too. All right, have a great week. I'll see you next time. Bye.